Hello and welcome to Mr. Mayor's Book Chats. I'm going to do a 10 for 10, which is 10 Caudill books in 10 minutes. Hopefully, I'll do my best. First book I want to talk to you about, The Blackbird Girls. If you like historical fiction it's about an event that you may have heard about but really don't know much about. This takes place in Ukraine, which has also been in the news. And it reminded me a lot of the Ruta Septis books, like Salt of the Sea, if you've read that one. So on a spring morning, Valentina and Oksana, who are neighbors, wake up to a red sky, a reactor at the nuclear power plant where both of their fathers work. Chernobyl has exploded. And before they know it, the two girls who've always been enemies at school find themselves on a train bound for Leningrad, a nearby country, to stay with Valentina's grandmother, Rita, who she really doesn't know a whole lot about. So in their new lives in Leningrad, they begin to learn what it means to trust another person. Oksana must face the lies her parents told her all her life. She learns they've been hiding these secrets. Valentina must keep her grandmother's secret because the more she learns about her grandmother, the more she finds out that grandma isn't quite who she thought she was. So a lot of growing up together, trying to figure out who they are as friends, who they are as their own individuals, and how far you would go to save your best friend's life. This takes place in 1986, but it also deals with a girl named Rivka in 1941 in Ukraine, so during World War II. Powerful historical fiction. Check that one out, Blackbird Girls. Next one, loved this book, called Wink. It is about a 12-year-old boy named Ross who, like a lot of you, just wants to be normal, just wants to fit in, just wants to go to school and not stand out. Well, Ross has a rare eye cancer, and he has to put this goopy eye medicine that helps him out. And he doesn't want to be that, cancer kid. He doesn't want to have to lose his hair. He doesn't want to have to wear a weird hat. But when he is diagnosed, he can't help but stand out. And he tries to make the best of it. He is a funny kid. And throughout this, he also likes to do comics. A comic named Bat Pig. And there's art throughout this book. So this is a kid dealing with cancer, but it's not a sad book. He deals with his diagnosis with humor and kind of this uplifting hope. Next one, Ephraim Divided. Ephraim is the main character, and he's always looked up to his mother. She cooks great. She takes care of the family. She makes sure that his younger twin siblings, Max and Mia, feel safe and loved because they are a handful. They kind of deal with their own medical issues as well. But Ephraim worries about his parents because although he's American-born, his parents are not. They are undocumented. And according to the neighborhood talk, families like his are in great danger. And sure enough, Ephraim comes home one day. His worst nightmare comes true when his mom doesn't return from work and she's deported across the border to Tijuana, Mexico. And now it's up to Ephraim to be brave and figure out how to do everything that his mom did before. And while his dad takes an extra job to earn him money, Ephraim has to look after the twins, do the laundry, fix the meals, do his schoolwork, and kind of just worried about being a kid. But when disaster strikes, Ephraim is faced with crossing the border alone to see his mom and deliver a special package. And there's danger all around him. So this is realistic fiction, but there's some pretty tense moments in this book that I think you'll really, really like. I really enjoyed this one. Black Brother, Black Brother. This is a book that actually, if you like sports books, this book was actually part of Steph Curry's kind of underrated book club that he does. And Steph Curry he has a production team, and they just picked this book to do a Netflix movie. So it'd be kind of fun to read this and then eventually hopefully see it on Netflix. It's about two brothers that don't look alike. One presents as white, the other is black. They have very different shades of skin, and the complex ways in which their lives are totally different, even though being brothers. This is about Dante and Trey. Dante wishes he were invisible. He's one of the few black boys at his prep school, and he feels like he's constantly swimming in whiteness. Most of the students don't look like him. They don't act like him. They dub him, the black brother. And his teachers and classmates kind of treat him differently than Trey, his lighter-skinned, obedient brother. But when an incident happens and Dante is in trouble and facing suspension, he knows the only way to get even is to kind of beat the system. And he decides to join the fencing team. So you'll learn all the kinds about fencing, more about fencing than I ever knew about. But if you like sports books, pick this one up. This is a good one. Fighting Words is the next one. This is a tough one to read. It's about 10-year-old Della, and she's always had her older sister, Suki. And when their mom went to prison, Della had Suki. When their mom's boyfriend took them in, Della had Suki. When that same boyfriend did something so awful that they had to run away as fast as they could, Della had Suki. And Suki is Della's own wolf. She's like her protector. But who's protecting Suki? And when Della gets in trouble at school and Suki is dealing with her own issues, Della's world turns upside down. This is a powerful, powerful novel that it examines abuse. There's times where I just wanted to put this book aside and not read it because the author makes you feel for these girls about what they're going through. But again, it's a powerful story about these two sisters sticking together and doing everything they can to get through it together. Short little nonfiction book. This is Your Brain on Stereotypes. From the time we're babies, our brains sort and label the world around us. It just does it. That's the way we survive. But as adolescents, we still do that. We sometimes make instant judgments about people by what they look like or what they're wearing. This book is all about why our brain does that. And again, how we can get past it and how we can use it for good, and what we can do about it. Super interesting book. This is a short one. It won't take you terribly long to read, but I'm sure you will find some good things in it. 1,000 Questions, about two girls. Mimi lives in America, and she is not thrilled to be spending her summer in Pakistan with grandparents she's never met. Secretly, she wishes to find her long-absent father and plans to write to him in this new journal that she just received. And when she gets there, she meets Sakina, who is the cook's daughter. And Sakina still hasn't told her parents that she'll be accepted to school, only if she can improve her English test score. But then, if she goes to America, how could her family possibly afford to lose the money she earns working with her dad in the rich family's kitchen? And she wants, more than that for herself. And so these two girls meet, and although they seem totally incompatible at first, as the summer goes on, they realize that they have plenty in common and that they need each other to get what they need most. So just a good story about friendship and two girls kind of coming together to help each other out. Next one, The Total Eclipse of Nestor Lopez. This is kind of a fantasy story, kind of a fun story. Nestor moves to Texas to live with his grandma after his dad gets deployed. And Nestor decides he just wants to lay low because he has a secret power that he doesn't want anybody to know about. He can talk to animals. But when the animals in his new town start disappearing, his grandma becomes a prime suspect after she's spotted kind of out in the woods by herself where they were last seen. And as Nestor investigates the source of the disappearances, he learns that they are being seized by a Tule Vieja, a witch who can absorb an animal's powers by biting it during a solar eclipse. In the next eclipse, is just around the corner. So Nestor has to kind of use his extraordinary abilities and his new friends to catch this witch. So again, it's just kind of a fun fantasy story. Speaking of fun, Katie the cat sitter. Katie is dreading the boring summer ahead because her best friends are all going to camp, a camp that Katie and her family can't afford, unless Katie can figure out a way to earn the money for camp herself. So Katie decides to get a job cat sitting for the lady up above her apartment. But that doesn't go well because first, the lady has 217 cats, and they're not exactly normal cats because these cats can use a computer. There's a cat, there's just all kinds of crazy things that these cats can do. And then she starts being suspicious of the lady she's cat sitting for because the most notorious villain of this city always seems to be committing these crimes when the lady is out. So it's up to Katie to figure it out. So just kind of a fun graphic novel about Katie and all of the cats. And the last book, A High Five for Glenn Burke, about a sixth grader named Silas who's doing a school presentation on former Major League Baseball player Glenn Burke. But it's more than just a report for Silas, because Glenn Burke happened to be the first black gay baseball player in the 1970s, and also the inventor of the high five. But this is kind of Silas's first step in telling his classmates that he's gay. And, he tells his best friend Zoe, but the longer he keeps the secret from his baseball teammates, the more he suspects they know something's up. And, Silas is trying to figure out the best way to come out and show his teammates and his classmates who he really is. So again, lots of great baseball action, but also a story about just kind of coming to grips and finding out